Hello race fans, welcome to episode 2 of the Race to Daytona, brought to you by Bass Pro Shops. We're coming to you live today from the showroom at Furniture Row from beautiful Denver, Colorado. Last week on the Race to Daytona, we spoke with Matt Faulkner, Director of Engineering, and Jonathan Dehart, Fabrication Manager. And we're joined by special guest Joe Garrone. On this week's Race to Daytona, we'll be talking live with special guest Pete Rondeau, Furniture Row Racing's Director of Competition. Hey NASCAR fans, thanks for tuning in to episode 2 of the Race to Daytona, brought to you by Bass Pro Shops. We're just a couple weeks away from the big race, and we're more excited than ever. On this week's show, we have Pete Rondeau, Furniture Row Racing's Director of Competition, joining us. And just like last week, we'll be doing a live Q&A session, so start sending in those questions. Pete, thanks for joining us. It's really nice to have you.
Thanks, Joby.
Can you start off telling us a little bit about what you do for Furniture Row Racing and your job?
Director of Competition, which is pretty much pertains to everything competition side, race cars, mainly race cars, from scheduling the cars through the system, making sure that things are happening when they're supposed to happen, and then also getting the guys together so that they can talk about their problems during the weekends and stuff like that.
Okay. As you know, we're about 2 weeks away from Daytona. Can you give us a little insight about what's going on at the shop, what everyone's doing, how preparation is going?
Pretty much right now it's all hands-on deck for the Daytona cars. We have to have 3 cars ready for Daytona. Okay. They're doing the final touches per se on them right now and massaging them, getting them the best we can make them.
Perfect. Well, earlier this week we caught up with Furniture Row Racing's shop foreman, Johnny Roten. Let's take a look.
My name is Johnny Roten and I'm the shop foreman at Furniture Row. I take care of everything from when a chassis comes in, getting it through the chassis side, then we get it to the body side, then we get it through finish fab, and then over to the mechanics. So basically I'll start from a bare chassis, make sure we get all the right components in there as far as the seat rails, where the steering wheel goes, where the brake pedals are at. From there, we go over to the body hanging side. So, and then from there we go to finish fab, to the paint and body, and then to the mechanics. So long story short, I sort of run it from the time it comes in the door till it loads on the truck. I've got my hands in every part of that as it comes down to the system. And at the end of the day, when the car goes into the transporter, headed to the racetrack, I'm the last guy that signs off on the car each and every week. I got my first job with Junior Johnson Racing back in early 1990. When I worked for him, for Junior Johnson, I was a brake and suspension specialist at that point in time. From there, I went to work for Bill Elliott Racing, was there several years. Basically did the same thing there that I did at Juniors. From there, I went to PPI Racing. I was a shop foreman for PPI Racing, helped get that team built up, get it going. And then from there, I went to Evernham Motorsports, worked there a few years. Back in about 2008, I came to Colorado and come to work for Furniture Row Racing. In my racing career, I've probably built over 200 Daytona cars. Daytona cars are just a breed of their own. That takes a different aero spec. It's got a different engine spec. The way we build those cars, we build those big and full to meet templates. A downforce car is totally different. Speedway car is, you've got a lot more hours in a speedway car of a window location, a different quarter panel here, a quarter panel there, and then plus they have the restrictor plate, so when you're installing the engines and everything, you've got to be real critical about drive shaft angles, drive line angles. So definitely a speedway car is a different breed from any other car that we build here. When you build a speedway car, you're looking at probably at least 10 more days from start to finish to get one of those cars built versus a downforce car. Definitely put a lot more time, a lot more energy into those cars. Daytona's like the first race of the year, but it's like the Super Bowl for us. So we put a little more time, a little more effort into them. Not that we don't on everything else, but a speedway car just takes a little bit more attention and detail to make it right for that type of racetrack. I guess for me, winning the championship's like a lifelong dream. It's something you work at your whole career. And for it to happen to us here in Denver, Colorado was really, really special. You know, right now I just really have no words to even tell you how it feels. Probably like a kid in a candy store, more or less.
So Johnny mentioned feeling like a kid in a candy store to win the championship. Can you tell us how it felt personally for you?
Well, at first it's kind of for me, it was kind of a numb feeling because we train ourselves, anybody that's been doing this a long time, we kind of train ourselves to not have any emotion until the checkered flag flies. But then it was about a couple hours after that when it finally started to sink in that we had in fact won the championship and become champions. Something that we look forward to all our lives. For us who have been doing this a long time, understand how hard it is to get to that point. And so once it sunk in a little bit, it was a pretty good feeling.
Yeah. Does it take a lot of work to train yourself to not be emotional? I mean, those last couple laps and then that caution being thrown out there.
Yeah, it's over time. Like I said, over time, as you on too many occasions, we've gone to the 2 to go, 1 to go, and something's happened. So then you're like, okay, there's a big letdown, you know. So after a while, you kind of say, I'm just going to wait to let this flow out of my system until the checkered flag flies.
Well, that makes sense. I haven't gotten there yet.
You're right.
Well, at this time, don't forget to be sending in your Q&A questions. We'll be getting to that here shortly. But first, let's get a little insight on Furniture Row Racing's shocks and interior specialist, Nick Curlin's role with the team.
My name is Nick Curlin, and I'm the shock specialist, and I also do the interior of the race car at the racetrack. Throughout the week, you know, I just kind of, build and maintain all the shock springs and bars that, go in the car every weekend. And also with that, I do the interior stuff. That's, kind of keep Martin's helmet, gloves, and, the inside of the car nut bolted and checklisted, and, just make sure everything's ready to go for the race. So as far as Martin's driver compartment, he's not really that picky. He's really easygoing. I would say probably the thing that gets him the most is if his rearview mirror is not in the right position. For some reason, he always has to keep touching it and moving it, and it's just one of those things for him. So as far as Daytona goes, it's just, it always seems different because it's the first race of the year. You got to go through the trailer and you got to kind of, regroup after a long season, and it's difficult to try and make sure you have everything on there that you need. As far as from Daytona to intermediate, I pretty much take everything the same as I would any other racetrack. I just kind of go from there, and it, just works. So as far as aerodynamics and suspension, so the shocks kind of help with the attitude of the race car. So as far as with the attitude of the race car comes your aerodynamics. As far as wedge in and wedge out, I mean, that's I don't know, for me that's not really gonna affect too much of my shocks, but I mean a little bit. It's just, it all gets kind of complicated when you start to do some of that. So yeah, it's very hard to tell. So damping is the shock. So damping is the shock working and actually absorbing the force of what's going on. As far as like a rough track or a smooth track, obviously, your dampers have to vary, between that. Obviously a rougher track, you need to, give a little more aggressive shock, and, when it's smooth, it's, it's just, it doesn't matter as much. So, yeah. As far as extracurriculars, when we go to the racetrack, you don't really get a lot of downtime. We used to go deep sea fishing when we go to Daytona, but it's just our schedule lately. The past few years, I haven't been able to do that. But other than that, like, we live in Colorado. I mean, what more could you not want to do here? So any chance I get, we go skiing or mountain biking or just, go enjoy Colorado. So that's pretty much it. The thing I look forward to most about Daytona is just getting back to the racetrack. I mean, it's just getting back in the flow of racing and being competitive, and just kind of kicking the season back off. It's a pretty good feeling.
So as the director of competition, how do you make the 78 faster than everyone else?
I personally don't make the car faster myself. I rely on the smart guys to do that, our engineers and our crew chief, Cole and Blake, those guys there. What I do is I just try to remove obstacles from their path to let them do their job.
All right. So that was my last question. We're going to jump into the Q&A and start asking fan questions now. And our first question is, your accent is a little different than we're used to hearing in NASCAR. Where are you from?
Maine,
Maine.
coastal Maine.
How did you get into racing, being from the Northeast?
Well, we have short tracks, all over the United States, and actually my dad started into it, so I started in with him, and then got into racing myself at age 15 years old, and drove for 18 years myself.
Wow. So we heard there are a few resurfaced tracks this year. Will you get to test on any of these tracks?
If it's a Goodyear type test or an organizational test, but we can no longer test at facilities without NASCAR's permission.
Okay. Does that make things tough getting there? Is it harder with resurfaced tracks, or?
It makes the playing field equal for everybody. So on a newer track like last year when they redid Texas, we actually got we went in there a day early and got some lap times in and stuff like that. So.
Okay. Well, Chris on Facebook asks, are you ready for the Super Bowl?
I am ready for the Super Bowl.
Are you cheering for the Pats?
I'm cheering for a good football game.
Perfect answer. So Joe G from Twitter wants to know why your Twitter handle is Sneaky PGR.
That goes back to my racing days. That was a little nickname of mine that some of my fellow competitors gave me.
Okay. Are there any other fun nicknames at the shop that we should know about?
No, I don't have none at the shop that I know of. We'll say none that I know of.
All right. Okay. All right. We're still getting in some questions, so let's see. Can you compare winters in Denver versus winters in Maine?
Yeah, the winters are, we'd get, as of late, we don't get a lot of snow here, which has been the same, in Maine. It's been from year to year, but it's cold. It's both as cold, and we have, like I said, the snowy days. But as a whole, there's a little bit of a comparison, but the weather is a lot drier here in Colorado than it is in Maine, which is a little bit of a difference when they're bitter cold. I lived on the coast of Maine, and that's a bitter cold.
Because of the humidity?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Are there any test dates for Bristol?
Not for us.
No?
No, not for us.
Okay. Well, we have another question that asks, how is this race going to be different than some of the others in this season?
This race meaning?
Daytona.
Oh, Daytona. Daytona, well, we do have new rules this year. We do have the no ride height rule, which is completely different than what we're accustomed to. Basically, it's the same rules that we would use on the downforce tracks, where instead of traveling the cars down, now we're putting them down at a desired ride height and racing from there. So that right there has been a big change for us this year.
Okay. Is the body for Daytona painted and wrapped?
Body is not painted, but it is wrapped. Yeah.
Okay, ready to go. What are some of the goals for this season? For you personally, for the team?
Well, me personally, just to keep doing what we've been doing. Making sure that everything is done in a timely manner and giving the guys what they need, which is what we're supposed to do. The guys at the racetrack, meaning. As far as the season itself, pretty high bar for us to maintain now, being the champions from 2017. So, but we're going for that again. That's our goal, and that's all the guys, and they're working towards it.
Carl asks, are we going to get to see the black Furniture Row racing car this year?
Unfortunately, we are not. No, between the Bass Pro and the 5-Hour Energy and the auto owner's insurance, that's pretty much going to take up all of the races of the season.
Well, we got pretty lucky with those sponsors. The black car seems to be a fan favorite, but these cars are going to be good this season.
It's nicknamed Black Magic in the shop.
In the shop it is?
Yeah.
I've seen Black Betty stumbled around on some of the social channels.
It's our favorite. It's been our favorite paint scheme. Obviously, it's our history and stuff, so we're pretty pumped about it, but it's gone away for now.
That's all right. Are there any major rule changes for this year that are catching any of the teams off guard?
Well, we'll wait and see. As far as the Daytona rules is going to be a big difference for us. After that, yeah, as far as catching them off guard, who knows? We'll see who's fast at the first downforce race at Atlanta, and then Vegas and Phoenix, and on from there, because we do have a different aero platform this year that we're working with.
Okay. So then we have another question that asks, how are the new pit road crew rules going to change strategy on pit road? What are you expecting?
Well, it's going to be quite different actually with the new pit gun rules. The dropping one person off, we've gone down from 6 to 5 personnel over the wall, and so now you'll see teams using different type of pit schemes, whether it be one tire carrier carrying both tires, or a jack man helping out, passing in. There'll be a bunch of different scenarios that's going to play out with that.
That'll be interesting. Do they expect pit times to be a little bit longer with one less person?
They're expecting them to be longer with the one less person. Also with the pit guns that we're going to be using, they're pretty much everybody's going to be even across the board using the same style pit guns now.
Interesting. So. Okay. Do you know what Martin's favorite band is, by chance?
I don't.
No?
No, I don't.
You don't have his playlist?
No, I don't have his playlist, sorry.
Has Martin taken you guys out fishing?
The guys have gone out fishing with him, for sure, yeah.
All right. That's pretty fun. All right, we're still waiting for more questions. Keep sending them in. Let's see what we have. All right. How special was it for you guys when you guys won the Kansas race after you lost one of your crew members the day before?
It was obviously a very special day for us. I mean, that type of news you get, that phone call comes in at midnight the night before, and because you don't sleep again after that. This sport is, like I talked before, there's a lot of highs, but then there's a lot of lows, and that was a pretty big one.
Yeah, it seemed like this season there were a lot of lows, but
The guys fought through it.
Yeah,
They fought through them. They fought through them all, and that's the type of group we have here.
right. Does Toyota help Furniture Row as much as Joe Gibbs Racing? Is it an even playing field for both teams?
Oh, absolutely. It's not no question at all. We actually have a complete share program with JGR. So for Toyota they kick out the same information to both of us, and we share it amongst JGR also.
Right. Oh, there we go. This is a question about playoffs. So do you prefer the chase or rather go straight out points? And do you like the stages from last season?
I love the stages part's excellent. That's I think that makes it more exciting for everybody. Everybody watching, everybody involved. We not just only are you going for a win at the end of the day, but you're going for those extra points. So it has to make it more exciting for the fans.
Right.
To go get them bonus points that everybody's looking for.
Yeah, you have an extra celebration during the race.
Yeah, it's rewarding. Definitely rewarding, because those, as people saw, we went after those extra points during the year, and it paid off. Gave us a little bit of an insurance policy when it did come to the playoff time. So
exactly. Okay, we only have time for 2 more questions. So our last couple questions are: how do you feel about the new inspections rule?
We'll have to wait and see on that one. We'll see what happens. We're not sure how it's going to be, policed yet, things like that. So we're not really sure. It's going to take probably the first third of the season before we're really sure what to look for in the inspection process.
Okay. Well, our last question is: when does the team leave for Daytona?
The haulers will leave next Monday, and then the crew leaves on Thursday or Friday of next week.
Okay, perfect. Well, everyone, that's all the time we have for today's episode. If you missed any part of today's or last week's segment, you can watch the full thing on Bass Pro Shop's YouTube channel. Be sure to tune into our last live stream on Monday, February 5th during our autograph session with Martin Truex Jr. Thanks again. Good night.